Hello here, live from the Vision stage at GreenTech, and I'm very delighted to be talking about the Nexus next. Meiny Prins is with me here in the studio, and we have some guests as well online, and it's all about uniting water, energy, food for a sustainable future, which sounds very grand, but we're going to get into the beef of it in just a moment. Meiny, if we can, of course, you're the head of Priva and the Sustainable Urban Delta, but let's have our other guests who are joining us online say hello as well. And we have Annemieke Niehoff from Deltares, formerly as well from the top sector of water. So Annemieke, I'm a more of a watering guy, so it's me and you teaming up here. It's good to have you with us. And Manon Jansen, a chorus, and also the representative for the top sector energy, the captain of energy. Manon, nice to have you with us. Last but not least, Jonathan Webb from App Harvest. Jonathan, good morning to you. Early morning.
Hello, good morning.
So we're just going to set the scene a little bit here. And Meiny, if you'd help me a little bit, we're obviously talking about food security. We're talking about especially resource and resource efficiency, but also connecting things together for a more sustainable approach, right?
Right, yeah. And I think for everyone by now, it's about clear that growing locally, so more locally grown sustainable food, so in a sustainable way, is the way to go. And I think all technology by now is available. We know how to do it, but it is so difficult to scale. And that is not the problem, I think, but that will be more clear during this talk, I think. Two, that technology-wise we can do it, but to scale it and to really go to different climate zones due to people you need, education you need, connecting differently to energy sources and to water sources. Yeah, that is that's an interesting challenge.
No, for sure, definitely is. And I'm going to go to Jonathan quickly then, just to talk about that a little bit. Jonathan, when you're producing as well in a CEA environment, what requirements do you have when it comes to energy and to water? Do you only look to install things where you have, I don't know, cheap, reliable energy sources, or can you be independent? Give us a bit of context and some market drivers, if you would, and then we'll get the discussion around that.
Yeah, Meiny, thanks for helping invite me to this, and wanted to be there with you today in person, obviously, because of Delta travel has been a little challenging. But also, Meiny, we're going to bring our governor to GreenTech, but there was a conflict today, but I think it's appropriate with this discussion. Ford is announcing today the largest investment ever in Kentucky, a $5.5 billion investment to manufacture electric vehicles. And that's the type of commitment we need from the private sector right now. Urgency and decisive action. And us here at App Harvest, when you mentioned energy and water, yeah, when I was at dinner with Meiny, it was one thing we talked about. You know, all we do is talk about energy in this world, and you know, again, trying to reduce carbon. But we have to remember the one reason we're on planet Earth is it's the only known planet in the known universe with abundant fresh water, and 95% of a fruit and vegetable is water. So for us at App Harvest, building here in this region, we've had record amounts of rainfall. It's been our wettest decade on state history. We're continuing to get wetter. So we're building in a region where there's more rainfall. We can capture that rainfall and grow the fruit and vegetable. And that's where holistically we need to be thinking about where are we placing these CEA assets? You know, let's put them in areas where we can harness the rainwater, capture that rain, package it up into a fruit and vegetable. But yes, as we all know here, you know, energy is critically important as well as rainwater. But one reason we're here in Kentucky is because of the abundant amount of rainfall that we continue to get in this state.
Is that reflected in Priva's business activities as well? Do you tend to focus on certain areas that have a certain environment?
It will be in it will be needed in so many more climate zones. So of course, this is really helpful, huh? If you have certain resources and you can do and use it in a very sustainable way, like reuse it as much as possible, or connect it to wastewater or energy sources is quite an issue, because energy, we all know, and I think Jonathan too, Jonathan, if you grow more intensively with in a controlled environment, more energy, of course, is needed. The outcome is much better and more, but you know, the outcome is perfect. Yeah, but those are quite some questions when you really go to different climate zones. But different climates, so even in Dubai, in Shanghai, it doesn't matter where, everywhere where people are, we need more healthy food. Huh? So nowadays, we tend to think that if we need food for people, then we say, oh yeah, let's scale and have more wheat, more soy, more canola, more maize. I don't know, but I don't think eating pizza every day is a very good idea. So we need more vegetables. And that is more intensive. You need more people per hectare. You need more resources. But the outcome is so interesting. I think Jonathan can really state that too, because there's much more than only producing food when you go and find this route to sustainable food production.
And rather than having all the people move to where there is abundant water and we can have local produce and abundant energy, we need to somehow scale that up to take the food production as well to them. So let's talk and bring in, if we can, Annemieke and Manon, and talk a little bit about how your top sector activities, water and energy, how are you interacting with the horticultural sector? Annemieke, can we start with you? Is that okay? Just give us a brief description of how you're working on food.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, and thank you, Meiny, for inviting me to. I'm here with two excellent leading ladies from the Netherlands. So this is really a joy for me to be part of this debate. Well, at Deltares and also in the top sector, we as the Dutch are famous on our integrated water research management and the safety we have. And we're always very proud of being the best protected delta area in the world and providing with the drinking water supply at a very low tariff, 24 hours a day. But also we we are already from Deltares working on a large project for a program for years, which is called Water, Peace and Security. But actually, it's about the nexus with energy and food. Because we are very concerned that as a result of climate change, people have to move and migrate because they simply are starving to death because of lack of water and lack of food. And although I think working in this field for a very long time, we also had tremendous progress on the Millennium Goals and now on the Sustainable Development Goals. Still, 2 billion people in the world have no access to water, drinking water. And the stress from climate change, reading the IPCC report, is even make this situation more difficult. And I fully agree with Meiny that the inefficiencies that are in the agriculture in consuming energy and consuming water can no longer to the future. So we have to come up with circular approaches which hardly use external resources from the system, because the system is simply not reliable anymore. So even if we are in areas that are under normal conditions have fresh water available or groundwater resources that may be extracted for agricultural purposes, this will come to an end because we will have years after years that there are suddenly extreme droughts, and there will also be years that there will be too many water, which is damaging harvests. So we have to move forward to closer loops and closer systems, closer by and closed loops to guarantee the production of healthy food.
And that kind of transformation you're talking about, getting more local, more circular, that's already happened to a large extent in the energy sector. has it not, Manon? But how is that circularity in energy affecting horticulture and food production? Could you make the link, please?
Absolutely. I just want to go back to something Jonathan said. You know, we talk about climate change and the energy transition, but it's about decarbonizing society. And decarbonizing actually means for industry and for the energy sector is redefining your production processes. So we have to make sustainable products in a sustainable process. And that's the challenge that we've embarked on. And in that respect, the energy sector both delivers the building blocks to do so, so allowing industry and horticulture and agri-food is a big industry in the Netherlands, to allow them to actually do that with renewable energy and new technology. And at the same time, we work on a topic that we call infrastructure or system integration, which is literally closing the loop from generating energy to consuming energy. And if you do that in a smart way, you increase efficiency, you lower the need for storage of energy, and you become an ecosystem in a very smart way. So that's what we've been working with the past 10 years.
And how does that connect then into the agricultural sector? We heard from Annemieke about the tremendous inefficiencies when it comes to water in agriculture. I mean, you see some of the practices, irrigation practices especially, but then you think as well on the downstream side of things about all the nutrients going into ecological systems. It's causing big problems there. So circles and tight circles, like she proposed, would help as well with agriculture quite a lot. How does that relate in an energy context?
I think there's actually, again, two thoughts in this. First of all, you want your energy system actually to be a straight line with as little variation as possible. You want energy to be always there, reliable. You want the light to go on when you turn on the when you flip the switch. But you also want your food and your tomatoes to be heated and cooled whenever you want them to be heated and cooled. So you need energy to be actually a no-brainer. The energy system needs to always work. At the same time, we are moving away from a top-down, one-way energy system with a few suppliers deciding how it is run to many consumers of energy, and we're moving to much smaller circular systems close to the user, close to the smaller industry, close to cities. And for instance, there is a closed loop in many of the agri-food production sites where you actually generate energy and consume the energy and store the energy in a closed system. So it will become a much more, I'd say, a much more decentralized energy system in a circular way rather than a top-down, one-way street that it has been for the past 100 years.
Yeah, so Jonathan, if you like, unusual energy and water sources, not the usual suspects, but the unusual suspects. So a lot of circles, a lot of recycling connecting to other things, waste heat as an energy source, of course, but also recycling water, I imagine. How does that reflect in your business models?
Yeah, I mean, we again, sustainability, resiliency.
Jonathan, sorry, we for some reason there's a really bad connection. I'm not sure if it's the Wi-Fi connection on your side or we can't understand you very well. It's changed.
Can you hear me now?
Don't know why. Do you have an alternative Wi-Fi, or maybe you could dial back in? Would that be possible?
Can you hear me now?
It's really crackly for some reason. It sounds like there's an internet connection possibility. Please dial back in if you would, and we'll carry on the conversation here. If I can ask Meiny, you're all representatives of the Netherlands at the Dutch Expo.
Yeah.
So we have the food captain,
Yes.
we have the water captain, we have the energy captain at the Dubai Expo
Yes.
coming up in some days.
Well, it started October 1st, huh?
Yeah.
So starting October 1st, yes.
But
Yeah.
tell us, please,
6
when you
months.
think about especially, not only that region, because obviously it's a
No.
global event, when you're
Yeah.
thinking specifically about the situation in the Gulf and the region there,
Yeah.
obviously an area with a diversification when it comes to energy and the economy in general, looking to become a little bit more autonomous when it comes to food. What is kind of your joint mission when you're representing the Netherlands then at the Dubai Expo, and then we'll get back into the other
Yeah.
conversation with Jonathan.
I think especially where both Manon and Annemieke were talking about is like reconnecting it in a different way. It is rethinking the way we used to do it is not helping us with having food production in those areas. What I find extremely interesting about this Dubai Expo, there are two things there. One is, if it is successful, what they want to reach, so their ambitions are very high to become like self-supporting too. Now to start with, I think 30% of all the food should be produced like local. That is an example for harsh climate. So if they can do it, that is very interesting route to see how that works out. And from there, it only you have so many more possibilities. On the other hand, what I really like about this is they have from their older culture the intention to bring all people together from all kinds of backgrounds and just talk, listen to each other. And those are the ones who are maybe the consumers, or those is the one who is supplying the energy, and the one in the water, and the one is the policy making, and they just talk about an issue until they kind of solved it. And that is what they also bring in this expo. And I think that's the only way to do it. You have to involve the people being there, and to reuse wastewater, for example, or use different sources, or to make decentralized energy systems. It is the only way to go there is close to where people live, because there you already have so many resources, and you can also bring it back. And now I think Jonathan is back again, but you can also do something back to this community. But people have to be involved. We cannot rely on about that. We cannot wait for policy making.
No.
Huh?
No.
So we have to do it ourselves.
So the Expo is a great platform to be able to have that rich conversation.
Yes.
And Manon, what is your expectation of that conversation? And then the same question to Annemieke.
Absolutely, what Meiny says is we're bridge builders. We're connecting different parties, are all committed and seeking to accelerate the energy transition to combat climate change. That's our single biggest enemy as a species on the planet today. I will be personally moderating a session on hydrogen, which we think could be a great answer long-term to energy, both as a carrier and as a source and as a form that is to be used. So we're hoping to accelerate the transition to a hydrogen-based economy. But the biggest thing remains human interaction, human connection. One, we haven't had it for a while, so we're looking forward to that, all of us. Second, it's people who will make that change come about, because it's not just about technology, it's about people embracing the technology and deciding to make it happen. And I think the world's ready for the tough questions on climate change and the energy transition.
Fantastic. Annemieke, anything to add? And then we'll get Jonathan in again.
Well, maybe one thing. I was just triggered by the thing that Meiny said about scaling up. And I think it's very crucial to meet each other from the different perspectives and the different sectors, to learn what are the key success factors and the blocking factors for scaling up, because we're always creating special circumstances for pilots. And then once the pilot is ready, we're not willing to create these circumstances for the full scale. So if we're piloting in a sort of utopia, then you never will scale up. So I don't like the word pilots anymore. I'm always advocating about prototyping, because this is the mindset that we need for only doing things that we're sure we're willing to create the circumstances for scale up.
Right.
And that's right in your business, Jonathan, of course. Scaling up, that's the one question. So how do you do that? Secondly, the tighter circles, the circularity. What are you observing to maybe even be a bit more independent to where you have an abundance of cheap energy and water?
Yeah, it's all about resource efficiency, right? And so, for us, when we were going through this public process and raising the capital we raised this year, I kept getting questions on, well, you're trading off ESG and sustainability for your core business, and we're going, no, we're investing in the long term, whether that's running completely on recycled rainwater or investing in education where we'll see people in 10 years that'll be working with us. To us, resiliency and sustainability is really built into the business model. But to go back to the earlier point before getting on scaling up, when I was talking about running on rainwater, I'm specifically talking about in the U.S. I'm sitting in Kentucky, that was one of the largest coal mining states in the U.S., and we talk about extractive industries like fossil fuels, but we don't talk about extracting nutrients out of the soil and not replenishing those nutrients. We don't talk about mining our water out of the ground. You look at California. The U.S. is not going to be growing fruits and vegetables at scale in California in my lifetime towards the end. The freshwater reservoirs are running out. The Colorado River is drying up. We are extracting water out of the West that is not sustainable. We're the largest economy in the world. We're the largest agriculture economy in the world. And if we continue this, our entire western half of our country is going to be decimated due to the lack of water. So for what I was saying related to App Harvest, we in the U.S. have got to build agriculture, large-scale facilities in water-rich regions. Yes, then get closer to markets and build as close to markets as possible. But if we don't do something drastic in the U.S. quickly, we are going to put ourselves in such a situation that the California, Arizona, New Mexico, and the whole southern west half of the U.S. Is going to be dealing with water issues for decades to come because of the way in which we're using the water today.
Can I ask from an investor perspective, that narrative and how do you explain especially the location and where the investment is being channeled into in terms of a resource availability? What do the investors, how deep do they get involved with that discussion? What is their interest in knowing that you've got energy, water, security for the business proposition?
Well, we're building assets that'll last 30 years or longer, and to be able to fundamentally show that we can run on rainwater for 30 years is incredibly compelling to a long-term investor. To somebody who's looking at making a gain in a month or two, maybe not, but somebody looking at climate maps in the U.S., seeing where the U.S. is drying up and where the U.S. is getting wetter, it's fundamental. You can't grow a fruit and vegetable without water, and you can try to do it in an area that keeps drying up, but at some point, you're going to need rainwater, or you're going to need some type of water to power these facilities. And then on the scale portion, and this is important too, we didn't have a pilot. We went straight from 0 to 60 acres. And again, it was scary. It's scary for us at the team here at App Harvest. But this world, we do not have time for pilots. There's no time. We're going to make mistakes, but we have to have conviction, and we have to execute at scale. And then once we make those mistakes, we immediately correct course and try to get better. But the world has surpassed the point to where we can have pilots. Completely agree with the statements just said a moment ago. We have to go scale quickly and work both government and private sector together. And it's hard. It's not, not everything's going to go perfect, but we've gotten to a point in this world where the problems keep mounting, and we don't have the luxury to take time to put together utopian pilot projects that hopefully at some point scale.
Manon, culturally, that kind of iterative trial and error, doesn't matter if we fail, let's get on with it. It's not a very European approach, traditionally at least. But as Annemieke says, we need to get rid of the pilot mentality and making sure everything is perfect on a small scale before we try and multiply. How do you see, Manon, when you look at what's happened in the energy sector, how do you see that willingness to be entrepreneurial and to take some risks, just like Jonathan is suggesting?
Well, first of all, I echo entirely what Jonathan's saying, that our planet is on fire and there is no time to waste. Second, I think culturally, the Dutch are very pragmatic, and we pilot, but we also are entrepreneurs at heart, and our country is, consists of 75% small medium enterprises. In the energy sector, you see the divide between a couple of really big companies and a lot of small entrepreneurs who just want to go and make that change happen. I think the unique construct of the top sector is a unique instrument to accelerate that. And some things will have to be piloted. You can't just go build a new electric cracker on hydrogen without trying it out first. It's just too big an investment. But installing heat pumps in every new house built in the Netherlands, getting rid of the gas, and changing that, shutting down nuclear energy where you can. You don't need to pilot that. You need a business case, and you need common sense, and you need a bit of guts to go to move ahead. And I think we have no choice but to move ahead. And so, okay, yeah, we'll make a few mistakes, but if we don't, the price that we pay is much bigger, and especially for the next generation.
Fantastic. Annemieke, let me ask about the climate change effects on the Netherlands, also when it comes to water. And my question is then to Meiny, are controlled environment agricultural systems more resilient to climate change? Because the Netherlands, Annemieke, has seen quite a lot of drought, I understand, the last few years. Not quite to the Californian level, but there's less water available, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think this was also a sort of wake-up call for us, because we're always fighting the water, and we are used to defend ourselves as well as on the coastline as to the big rivers that come from Europe and the European countries and come across our country. But we really had 3 very dry summers, and there was a lot of damage to the agricultural use of the land, but also on the natural reserves. And we have to rethink the land use, because we cannot just by public money pay all the damage done year after year. So I really think that, and we also have a fantastic track record when it comes to a different way of agricultural production. So I think, given the small size of our country, that would be an excellent way forward, I guess.
So CEA, is that one way of building resilience?
Yeah, we for the coming years, you will see 2 things. The one is the existing world, what is starting to move due to a lack of resources, so they have to move. Sometimes they take it literally, so growers are moving from California to Mexico, things like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you move from growing into the soil, getting into the gutters or the tabletop, starting to recycle your water, having it covered. So that is a move that you will see. And that grows with every crop. We never thought nowadays that it could happen. So why not grow avocados in an indoor farm? Or why not grow corn drip irrigated? Things that we've never thought of before are happening at this moment. So that is one. But that will take a long time, because the education curve is very long. And on the other hand, you have like App Harvest, they just go boom. And they are, how do you say that? They are pushing the innovation that is needed to a higher level. And so I'm a believer of entrepreneurs. I believe that the entrepreneurs with the good heart, so it's all about making sure that we have the innovations in time to make sure that we are not destroying our planet. They will make it, and they will do it, I believe, very much.
Fantastic.
Next to, we have to push the other ones a little bit away. The ones that are not really helpful at this moment. So yes, but no, they are pushing, and that is something that is very important to also understand. Good partnership or really cooperation is meaning that you push each other to another level. So you know what I mean, huh? And that is also the only way you can really make it happen, and just not a pilot, but indeed, like Annemieke said.
That sounds like a wish.
And
it sounds like a wish as well. A wish for you, this collaboration to work together and be more entrepreneurial.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to ask the same question of our other three guests. What is your biggest wish, if you like, in getting the water, energy, and food nexus together? But before that, we have a couple of questions from the audience. Manon, I have one for you. High gas prices, what effect is it having on horticulture? And I don't know if we can talk about fertilizer production, but that was specific in the question.
Oh, honest answer, I don't know. It depends on what, where, when, and how. But I think the price of energy obviously affects production. And if gas is high and other prices are low, wouldn't make a difference. If gas prices are high and they remain high, then the production price is going to go up. And especially coming out of COVID, when everybody's trying to catch up on production, you can imagine the prices go up. At the same time, I don't think that that's sustainable. So, it really depends on the situation. But, anything that sounds like a high price will probably impact the consumer price, at least short term.
Okay. So we're just about running out of time, but we have time for one more wish, as I mentioned. I'm going to start, Annemieke, with you, if I may. What is your one wish when it comes to the water, energy, food nexus?
Well, I would wish that we reevaluate water, because if in many countries and in many circumstances, and even in our own country, we say that it is very of high importance and very valuable, but if you look at the price, we're not able to influence decision making because it's too cheap, or it's even for free. You just put a pump in the subsoil and you extract the water. So the principal question: who owns the water resources? And who is willing to pay for it? I really would wish to have this top on the agenda, because this would lead to fruitful discussions about efficiency.
The value of water. Jonathan, your wish.
Well, first, more of a statement than a wish. So my background started in solar, building some of the largest solar in the U.S. And I've tried to say here in the U.S., 20 years ago, renewable energy took off. 10 years ago, Tesla went public, and now every major automotive is moving towards electric vehicles. Again, Ford today announcing in our state a $5.5 billion investment for electric vehicles, the largest ever in this state, private investment. And today, right now, is the moment of CEA. It's the third wave of sustainable infrastructure. And in the next 10 years, the same way we've seen electric vehicles take off and we've seen renewable energy take off, we are going to be building CEA facilities in every corner and crevice of this globe. And it's not as much a wish as just an inevitability, because our world desperately needs resilient food and a controlled environment.
Fantastic. Manon.
Well, I would wish for a little bit of wisdom and courageous leadership at every level. And I hope that we will, after coming out of COVID, where the urgent health crisis almost overtook the slow burning platform of our planet burning up, I hope that we stop waiting for each other to take action. If everybody just does what he or she can do in whatever position you are, then I think we have a chance.
And Meiny, last but not least.
Well, I think we all talk. In fact, it is about reevaluating healthy food. And my big wish is that we will move to through pricing and see what it really costs to have it like we have it today, and move forward with global growing controlled environments, yes.
Fantastic. This has been Uniting Water, Energy and Food for a Sustainable Future. Jonathan, ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next session coming up is in just about 15 minutes. There we're talking about scaling up vertical farming in Europe. So please come back in 10 minutes at the very latest. Thank you.